Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories.
Quick info, I read the first two parts of this story a while back, and now we're back with the final update. So let's get started. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's by user FunElephant6393. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to contribute to my stepson's college fund? Me, 39 male, and my wife Emily, 38 female, have been married for 12 years. Emily has a son, James, 17, from a previous relationship with Dan. Em left Dan when she caught him cheating with a coworker. They shared 50-50 custody of James. I met Em about a year after she had left Dan. A year later, Dan married his affair partner and Em and I got married soon after. James never really bonded to me. I admit that I tried a little too hard initially to get him to like me, but backed off when I realized I was trying too hard and it was having the opposite impact. Over the years, we've built a tense acceptance of sorts, if that makes sense. Em and I have 3 kids, 10 female, 7 male, and 4 male. James doesn't have a good relationship with them either. He bonds well with Dan's sons, but doesn't like spending much time with our kids. He isn't mean to them, but just ignores them mostly. The eldest 2 now just avoid him when he is home. Em and I both have well-paying jobs, and early on we decided that I would contribute 80% to our trio's college fund and Em would do 20%, because she would contribute 100% to James's college fund. We didn't know if Dan was making any such arrangements on his end, but we thought at least this way James would have something instead of nothing. Em recently sat him down to talk to him about his college fund. He seemed happy with the financial help he was going to get. He went off to Dan's for the weekend, and when he came back, he asked Em about our kids' college fund. When he learned that the amount was fairly higher than his, he was upset. When he asked about the disparity, Em told him about our college fund setup. He was furious to know that I hadn't contributed to his college fund. He said that I was just pretending to play family with him all these years, that I really didn't care about him and was a heartless a-hole. Em suggests that we could take some money out of our youngest's fund and give it to James, and that she would add it back over time. But she said that it's my call, that she won't pressure me either way and would accept whatever I decide. Quite frankly, I don't want to do it. James idolizes his crappy father even now that he knows he cheated on his mother. I could deal with his crappy behavior with me, but I never understood his attitude towards our kids. We even tried going to family therapy. He refused to go because I wasn't his family. Now, when he needs money, suddenly I am family. I know I am perhaps being petty, but I don't want to give him the money. Am I the a-hole? I'm not going to give my opinion again to not waste that time because I've already done it, but the main gist of it is that to me, OP was not the a-hole. And that OP has no responsibility towards James, per James' own words, that we're not family. So yeah, not the a-hole. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's check out the community comments. Fair Theme 9388 says, not the a-hole, but why in the world did your wife tell him about your other kids' college funds? It's simply none of his business, and giving him the details was just going to upset him. He was perfectly fine with the arrangement before he knew the younger kids are getting more than him. Your wife is the a-hole for opening up a conversation about money with her 17-year-old son, and even more of the a-hole for suggesting you take money out of the other kids' funds to make James happy. I don't blame him for getting upset, but your wife needs to contribute more to his fund if she wants to make him happy. Chatterbox 2024 says, not the a-hole. His father put that entitlement into his head that he should have the same amount as the other kids, except his own father should have been saving for him as well and obviously did not. LifeScratch 2807 says, not the a-hole. You're only family when he needs money. I wouldn't be surprised if he asked about your kids because his dad told him he doesn't have much for him. That isn't your problem. He should have cultivated a relationship with you independently that might have allowed you to want to help. That isn't the case. In fact, it's the opposite. He bonds with Dad's family and ignores yours. Let him go continue bonding with Dad. Overrice 2524 says he has 2 parents to contribute to college. They can find him. Sounds like Dan had better step up. And Opie responds, I doubt that would happen. Dan has never been good at keeping a steady income flow, and his wife is a stay-at-home wife. They aren't desperately struggling to make ends meet, but I could make an educated guess to say Dan has probably not saved up for any of his kids' college funds. And Shy Fidelity says, when he learned that the amount was fairly higher than his, why would this even be something you shared with a child? And Opie responds, I didn't share it, my wife did. James doesn't like interacting with me. James is 17, he's not a child anymore. Opie's edit. I think some clarifications are in order. 1. I don't hate that James idolizes his father. I hate that he blames his mother for their family breaking up. When James was 13, he had heard from one of his older cousins, Dan's side, what his father had done that led to Emily leaving. When he confronted her about it, she explained. We tried for therapy then, but didn't happen. We'll explain later. Last year, he told his mother that he believes she was responsible, that instead of leaving Dan, she should have forgotten about what he did and continued to stay with him. M was expectedly shocked, but when she asked him if the situation was reversed and she had cheated on Dan and he left her, would then Dan be blamed for the family breaking up? He said no, that would definitely be her fault and made no further explanations. This was not as a result of an argument or heat-of-the-moment statement. Ironically, this was a casual dinner table conversation. The other kids had to be excused from the table. 2. When Em and I had gotten together and things were starting to look serious, she had wanted to take him to a child therapist who could help him adjust better to the changing situation around him. Since they shared 50-50 custody, Dan's consent was needed. He refused. When we were going to get married, we tried for therapy. Dan said he got married before us and James had no issues. We were overreacting. He didn't need therapy. When the above incident happened, when Em was pregnant with our daughter and most recently after last year's incident, this time we asked him directly. We thought if he agreed to family therapy that we could speak to our lawyer and work around the custody arrangement since he was almost an adult. This was when he refused therapy, saying I wasn't family. 3. For all those saying that I'm treating a teenager like an adult, that I made him feel like the other and not one of us, we tried. When we both started earning well, we went on a splurge on our kids during birthdays and holidays. James was never excluded. Whatever our kids got, he got too. In fact, as he was older, he got to pick what he wanted. For his 11th birthday, he wanted to go to Disney World. Both of Dan's kids were invited. His youngest son and my daughter are the same age. He went, she wasn't invited. We stayed home. And 4, we started the college funds about a year after our daughter was born. Em couldn't start one for James earlier since she was a stay-at-home mom when she was with Dan. It took her a while to get back on her feet. She wasn't in a position to immediately start a college fund for him. What a lot of you pointed out is right. He has been shortchanged. Em will rectify that and make up the deficit he should get by the time he starts college. But that will still not make it as much as the remaining 3. We have decided to sit and have a chat with him this weekend about everything. Alright, well, the majority of the community agrees that OP would not be the a-hole and they're gonna have a conversation. And now, let's move on with the first update. It's been an eye-opening weekend. Thanks to everyone who weighed in, even the aggressive ones. I knew what I was signing up for posting on Reddit. Before the update, a couple clarifications because gaps in information turned into wild assumptions. When I said I came on a little too strong with James when we met, some of you pictured me grabbing a toddler by the neck and hissing, "Call me daddy." No. I was nervous and acted like an idiot and used an over-the-top baby voice because I'd barely been around toddlers. Emily later said I sounded like a circus clown on 2 cartons of Red Bull. Cringe? Absolutely. Malicious? No. Many had questions regarding therapy. I shared in my edit that when he was older, we asked if he would like family therapy and he refused. Many were confused by that, but I clearly meant that if he agreed to attend therapy, then we could try to see if our lawyer could find a way to make it happen without needing Dan's consent, which is part of the custody arrangement since he is already 17. Many called my wife the a-hole for sharing the college fund amounts for our kids. I showed her the post. She explained James came back from dance with questions when the fund started, how much, etc. He said, paraphrasing, "So mine is XXX and theirs is YYY? With this XXX higher than our kids' YYY?" Without thinking, yes, stupidly, Emily corrected him. "No, yours is AAA and theirs is BBB." That snowballed into what I wrote earlier. It wasn't a diabolical plan to make me pay more. It was a thoughtless correction. With that out of the way, Emily, James, and I sat down for a conversation yesterday. James didn't want to talk to me, but I told him that if he expected me to even think about contributing to his college fund, then I've got loads of questions he needs to answer. It was an extremely long conversation and many revelations came to be. So, I am going to give a summary of the things we finally found out from James. Even before Emily and Dan had broken up, not divorced, they were never married, Dan had occasionally brought James to his affair partner's place, so James was familiar with the affair partner. After the breakup, Dan immediately moved in with his affair partner. Em, who was a stay-at-home mom till then, struggled initially to get back on her feet. Needless to say, James's home life with Em was a little more chaotic than at Dan and his affair partners. Em hadn't told James that she had left his father since he'd cheated on her. Telling that to a toddler wouldn't make any sense, but apparently in the early days, Dan used to tell James that Em would eventually come back to him. I think he may have been holding out hope for reuniting with Em, and that's where I came in. Dan told James that as long as I am around, I would not let Em go back to Dan. When Dan married his affair partner, he told James that it was temporary. It was a way to make Em jealous. When we got married, he told James that it was my way of making it even more difficult for Em to get back to their family. When James found out from his cousin, Dan's side, that his father had cheated on his mother, which was the reason for their breakup, when James asked Em about it, she had been open and honest about everything. When he confronted Dan about the same time, he told James that Em had left him for a long time and his loneliness made him miss her a lot, so he found some comfort with a affair partner. What really happened was that Emily's father had a car accident and she was with her parents for about 3 weeks to help them. And that's all the alone time Dan could handle before he needed to dip his wick in something. But it was a reasonable enough explanation for James to absolve his father of all sins. When Em got pregnant with our daughter, Dan told James that I have started pumping my spawn into his mother. Exact words James used. So, James's family was destroyed forever. He told James that Em and I had been wanting to take him to therapy, which was actually a ruse. What we were really trying to do was take him to a doctor who would declare him a problem child, and then we would ship him off to boarding school so that we could continue to play happy family without being bothered by him. Only Dan and his family were fighting to keep James with them. James admitted that he had hoped his detached behavior around my family and happy and joyous behavior around Dan's would convince Em that my kids and I were evil and she would eventually leave us. But sadly, I kept knocking up his mom, making it harder for her to leave. Expectedly, Emily was beyond distraught to hear everything. To be honest, in the moment, I couldn't wrap my head around it much either. I asked if Dan had a college fund saved up for him and his sons. James said affair partner's parents have set up a trust fund for Dan's sons, but that doesn't include James since he isn't their grandson. Dan's not saved up anything for anyone. I asked James why he suddenly thinks I should contribute to his fund when he has turned down every opportunity for us to be a family. He said he was actually okay with the amount that Em initially told him about, but Dan made him realize that we were undercutting him, so he came back to demand more. I asked, if I pay the money, will that then make us family? Even if he can't accept me as a step-parent, can we be friends? Can he be a little more friendlier with my kids when he is around? He straight up said no. He said that after all these years, he knows me or my kids are not the evil beings his father made us seem. But he still feels I am the reason his parents could never get back together again, and for that, he will always hate me. And since my kids are, well, my kids, he's never going to like them either. He also said that since he knows that Emily isn't going to leave her family, he said his plan was once he was off to college, he would cut off contact with all of us. He does plan to eventually get back in touch with his mother when he feels he is ready to forgive her for breaking up his family, but he can't do that right now. Emily and I have had a long and honest discussion. I have decided that I will not be making any contributions to James's college fund. Emily will continue the contribution that she was already making and hand it over to him once he turns 18. We will no longer be pursuing family therapy with James. We will not try to change James's mind about going no contact with us after he goes off to college. We've done all that we could do. We're going to stop now. If James is happy with Dan's family, then we're happy for him. It's going to be hard for Emily, but even she has accepted that after James's recent revelations, she's having a hard time reconciling her little boy with this cynical teenager. We have both taken individual and couples therapy before, mainly due to the stress and anxiety James's behavior used to put on us as a family. We are looking into starting again. Hopefully, we'll be able to overcome this in time. And now, let's finish this story with the final update. I have been getting so many messages and comments that I haven't been able to reply to them all. Emily and I are deeply grateful for all the kind words we have received, and even the unkind ones have been insightful in their own way. A lot of you asked how we did not know that Dan was brainwashing James against us. It's not that we didn't know. We knew that some level of parental alienation was happening, hence why we repeatedly advocated for therapy. But we didn't know to what extent. Like I said in a comment before, whenever we tried to talk to James, he would either throw a tantrum or simply sit like a stone and not say a word. Since therapy was denied repeatedly, we really couldn't do much. The fact that Dan filled James's head with this kind of BS, we really didn't know. Last year, when James spewed his judgment on how Em was to blame for their family breaking up, is when we had our first inclination of how much James had been poisoned against us. As for suing Dan for parental alienation, at this point, it doesn't matter. James will turn 18 early next year, and we have no proof of anything. We did not record the conversation we had with him, and James is not a reliable witness. He would easily lie to protect his father. Now, coming to the recent developments. After everything that James said, Emily was very shocked and devastated. For all those who said she should have told James that Dan was the problem, not us, and so many other things, reality was that she did nothing because she couldn't. Real life isn't like some scene from a movie or series where characters have replies ready at the tip of their tongue. When your son spews this level of hate towards you, it's hard to comprehend and respond with zingers. That said, we have had time to think things over, and we have considered a lot of the advice that we got from here. Emily has decided that while she will continue to add to James's fund till he turns 18, she will not be handing over the money to him, as per the advice given by many. She will be paying directly to the institution that James gets admission into. If he chooses not to go to college, then the money will be held back and given to him when he turns 25. In the hopefully very unlikely case of Emily passing before James turns 25, then our lawyer will be in charge of ensuring that James gets the money at the allotted time. This is to ensure that neither James nor Dan can blame me for meddling with the money. Since our last conversation, James had not come home. He stayed at a friend's place for a few days, then went back to his father's place. Emily asked him to come over on Saturday. She sat him down and told him that since he is hell-bent on giving up his relationship with us, then there was no point walking on eggshells around him any longer. She told him that she was hurt and disappointed by his behavior. For him to believe that his mother was to be blamed for their family breaking up was unacceptable. Em said that if he feels his father cheating is acceptable and she should have gone back to him, then she cannot see eye to eye with him. This is not word for word of the conversation. I am mostly paraphrasing. She told him that I will not be making any contributions to his fund. Since he doesn't think of me as family, I have no obligations to add to his funds. And if he still feels that his fund is lacking, then he should ask Dan to make up for the deficit. She also told them that he will not be getting direct access to his funds and that payments from the fund will be made directly to whatever college he attends. He was also made aware of what happens if he doesn't go to college. Emily also let him know that from now on, if he wishes not to come over to our place, he doesn't have to. We discussed it with our lawyer. While Emily will not be giving up custody yet, she will not be enforcing that James stay with her as per the custody arrangements. He silently listened to everything Em said. He didn't leave his room that night and went back to Dan's place on Sunday. We haven't heard anything from him since then. Well, OP, like I said before, it is a very sad situation, this whole thing, the whole parental alienation. But like you say, there's no point fighting it now. He's already turned. I must say, I very much like the plan forward. Em is still backing up her son the best way she can, and that is the best way. Hopefully, someday he does see things for what they are. But in the meantime, OP, here's wishing you and Em the best in the future. Thanks so much for sharing and take care. And now let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance and it's by user Rin is existing. Coworker didn't like my friend and I quietly chatting while working. Made it her problem. I, 21 female, work in a pharmacy as a pharmacy technician along with my friend. We were both chatting about next semester and what classes we were taking while filing medications when my older coworker, 41 female, loudly shouts, "Let's play the quietly game with just you two and see who can go without talking for 25 minutes. Very rudely. All of my other coworkers were shocked as our talking was not bothering them and we had no patience at the time. So I decided to comply, but in her rigorous standards, I stopped talking to her, period. I only respond if talked to first and only if it's about work. I also do not talk to her once clocked out as she complains about fraternizing with higher members of management outside of work hours. She is a lead tech, so she is higher. She hates it. Keeps trying to talk to me, but I only respond with, "Is this about work?" and move on. She is the only one I do it to. It's fun. This coworker has a streak of being rude and overly harsh and not apologizing. It's nice to give her a taste of her own medicine. Thank you. Yeah, maybe she was trying to be funny about it, but she came out looking like an a-hole. And she wanted you to play the quiet game, so you are. Thanks for sharing, OP. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.